Hey, what's going on, guys? So, before I even get started, I checked my YouTube analytics, and apparently 83% of you guys who are watching my videos aren't subscribed. What are we doing here? If you like what you see, just hit the little button. It's barely a commitment. It's like digital polyamory, or co-parenting a hamster that you're not sure is alive or dead, but you still refill the water bottle anyway. Now, on to the topic at hand. Believe it or not, I am actually super far behind on my comics. And it's not that I'm not buying the books. I have been, but I just hadn't had the time to read them. However, I was recently let go from my job, which, not great. Not that it was a particularly good place to work, but it was a steady income, so not having that's gonna be a bit of a drawback if I don't land something in the near future. But, silver lining, I now actually have time to read all of the books that I've been collecting, which, as far as superhero comics are concerned, is mostly from Marvel's New Ultimate line and Absolute DC, which I feel like I've covered the New Ultimate Universe pretty extensively on the channel, but I haven't really done the same for Absolute DC, and that's largely due in part to me just not prioritizing it, because, I don't know, I liked the books that were coming out, but they weren't hidden in the same way that Ultimate was. But after taking the time to just sit down and read everything.
Oh my god. I get it.
Okay, so starting off with Absolute Batman. Back in my first video talking about the Absolute Universe, at that point, the only books that were out were Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and I'd read the first arc of Wonder Woman and Superman respectively, and I read the first 4 issues of Batman, I think. I know I didn't finish the first arc because, unlike the other two, I was liking it, but I wasn't loving it. But then I sat down and read everything from issue 1 through 12, like I said, and I don't know what changed, but this second read through, everything just hit like an abusive girlfriend on Valentine's Day. So, like I said in the last video, you have Proletariat Batman, who's the survivor of a mass shooting, which, again, brilliant way to update that character's origin for the modern day, but in a way that doesn't miss the point of the character. Excuse me. And the big thing that really has me hooked on this run so far, Bane withstanding, is Snyder and Dragotta's take on that classic idea of criminal escalation in Gotham. Because here, it's not Batman's fault like it is in The Long Halloween and the Dark Knight trilogy and the Arkham games and all the cartoons. Here, it's RoboCop. The escalation is being artificially engineered by private interest groups so that they can get local government contracts to build these massive super prisons called ARCs, with the prison in Gotham being designated Arc M, which again is a really neat twist on the Batman mythology. And it's really horrifying because what Arc M effectively is a concentration camp where prisoners are experimented on, and that's how Snyder and Dragotta introduced their eldritch horror take on a lot of these classic Batman villains like, Clayface and Poison Ivy. Waylon Jones, who was one of Bruce's best friends, is experimented on, and that's how he becomes Killer Croc. And it's just the most heartbreaking thing when Waylon begs for Bruce to kill him, and he can't. In fact, all of Bruce's other friends are mutilated too, not by Arc M, but by Bane. Once he figures out that Bruce Wayne is Batman, he finds Harvey Dent, sets the entire left side of his body on fire, and that's how you get Two-Face. Poor Oswald just gets his shit kicked in until he looks like a human penguin. And meanwhile, Eddie's skull is replaced with parts from the Riddler robot that he built, and parts of his brain are exposed, and his eyeballs are missing. And again, it's just so soul-crushing after getting to know these guys and like them in the first arc. This is also the pulpiest thing that I think I've read from Scott Snyder. Like, yeah, it has his usual shtick of making bad guys eldritch demons, which is expected from Scott Snyder at this point, but this feels very Frank Miller in a way that, ironically, none of his other Batman works feels, despite bending over backwards and trying to homage Miller and those other stories. And at the end of the day, Absolute Batman feels like the pulp cyberpunk Batman book that he's been working at since Court of the Owls. And I think he finally perfected that Krabby Patty formula, and Nick Dragotta does a damn fine job visualizing it. Absolute Wonder Woman, honestly, I feel the same about this now as I did back then, which might come off as a bit underwhelming from a video review content place, but I don't know what else to say. I love this book. It's still my favorite of the Absolute DC Trinity, which is crazy to me because I like Kelly Thompson. I've read some of her fill-in stories and I've read some one-offs by her, but never anything that gave me the indication that she was like, a Walt Simonson type or a Mike Mignola type with Hellboy. But I never thought of her as like an epic mythological type of comic book writer, which, I guess really shows what the fuck I know. Again, I don't remember where I heard this from, but I distinctly remember hearing Kelly Thompson describe this book as Tomb Raider meets Xena, and the book is starting to get to that place. And, like I said in that last Absolute DC video, the first arc felt like Devil May Cry meets Man of Steel to me, as did the 2-issue arc afterwards, which featured guest artist Mattia De Lewis. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I hope I am. Who I loved, by the way. I've seen them do a lot of covers, but man, those interiors were phenomenal and cinematic, and it really highlighted that dark fantasy tone that I think the book is going for. I do still like Hayden Sherman and Jordi Belair as the main artist, though. Hayden Sherman has a very distinct art style and a very distinct way of paneling every page that I wouldn't trade for any other artist at the moment. And Jordi Belair's colors, I don't know what medium she's using or if she's doing it digitally, but it feels intentionally unevenly flat in a way that makes the book feel, again, much like Absolute Batman, very pulpy. Now, like I've said a million times, I'm not the world's biggest Wonder Woman reader, but I like some of the twists on what I'm aware of in terms of her classic mythology. Dr. Poison being a sentient poison cloud trapped in a containment suit is a pretty cool idea. Also, Queen Clea being the tyrannical despot of fish people who are trapped in a prison maze filled with other mythological creatures, that's a pretty fun idea, and that's what we've been seeing unfold the past couple of issues. And yeah, I continue to be excited about this book, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here. Then there's Absolute Superman, which of the Trinity is by far the weakest, in my opinion, which really sucks because I like that first arc quite a bit. I love the art by Rafael Sandoval, and I especially love seeing Carmen DiGiandomenico on this book. In fact, I actually prefer him to Sandoval, if I'm going to be honest. I just think his art style fits more with what Jason Aaron's going for, or trying to go for, I think. And it's weird, because I don't dislike any of Jason Aaron's reinvention of the Superman mythos on paper. A more Golden Age inspired punk rock champion of the oppressed style Superman who came to Earth as a teenager, that's a cool idea. And like I said in my last Absolute DC video, I potentially really like the idea of Vandal Savage seeking Superman to be his heir in a world where Batman's a filthy commoner. So I think, again, those ideas are potentially really cool and really interesting. It's just dry. Like, the chicken is seasoned, but the meat is dry, and I'm just not vibing with the book itself. Also, that Talia reveal in issue 10 or 11 or whatever, that was way too quick. I mean, it doesn't come out of nowhere in hindsight, but I'm not feeling this one. And again, the book isn't bad, but compared to Absolute Batman and Absolute Wonder Woman, which are these modern generational takes on the character, this just doesn't feel like that, and this isn't on that same level, unfortunately. So I don't know, those are just my thoughts on that. Now, as for the second wave of Absolute DC titles, Absolute Green Lantern, I couldn't get past issue 3. I don't know, man, I wasn't liking the art, and this is probably just me not being a Green Lantern guy thing, but I wasn't feeling this, which is a shame because I'm a big fan of Al Ewing. In fact, I'm loving Mortal Thor right now, and I'm one of the 5 people who unironically likes the current Venom book by Al Ewing. And I've heard some good things about Metamorphose. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll pick this one back up in trade, but as of right now, it's not grabbing me. Absolute Flash, on the other hand, has been a lot of fun. Jeff Lemire and Nick Robles are reinventing the Flash mythology as, like, Ultimate Spider-Man meets the Hulk, weirdly enough. So here, Rudy West is a military officer who's in charge of building superhumans for the government under a program called Project Olympus. In fact, the book ties into Absolute Superman, where Barry Allen is running Project Olympus in a joint venture with the Lazarus Corporation. So that's a pretty neat connection there. Now, ironically, given how this universe is powered by Darkseid, which I'll get to, ironically, Rudy West is actually far less of a piece of shit compared to his main universe counterpart. Because here, it's not that he's a bad guy, he's just career-oriented in a way that pushes him away from his family. And now that his wife is dead, that just leaves him and Wally is, like I've said before, probably the least changed of the absolute DC heroes. He doesn't get along with his dad, he has this kinship with Barry Allen, and one day, he wanders into Barry's lab while he's running an experiment that mutates Wally and gives him his powers. And ever since, he's been literally on the run from the government, and he's being chased by the Rogues, who are a military outfit of soldiers who, in the past, were dishonorably discharged for going rogue. Which is kind of silly, but I'm down with it. My only complaint with the Absolute Rogues, really, is that their uniforms are too goofy. For this universe, under this context, unironically, I think they should be wearing uniform tactical gear, but that's just me. But so far, everything else has been reinvented from the ground up, like everything else in the Absolute DC universe, but with an ironic twist. Iron Heights, instead of being a prison, is a shitty neighborhood in Central City. So, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Ralph and Sue Dibney, instead of being actual costume superheroes, they help their community by running a halfway house for runaways. Again, the more things change, the more they stay the same. That's also where we meet Linda Park, who's a runaway. And again, the book has just been a lot of fun to read. The art is fantastic and kinetic. I love how the Speed Force is depicted as these bold motion lines akin to neon speed trails from Tron Legacy instead of electricity. I think that's a really interesting touch. And I'm waiting for the shoe to drop with the reveal of Barry Allen being evil, because I really think that's what the book's building up to, but we'll see. And finally, there's Absolute Martian Manhunter by Denise Camp and Javier Rodriguez. This is easily the best of the Absolute DC titles right now. Originally, it was a 6-issue miniseries that was expanded to a 12-issue maxi due to high demand, and after reading the first 6 issues, I get why. It's a metaphysical, true detective story where FBI agent John Jones survives a suicide bombing, and his brain is hijacked by an alien consciousness that's hunting white Martians, with the white Martians in the Absolute DC universe effectively being a hive mind virus that worships anti-life. This book directly ties into what's going on with the Absolute DC universe as a whole, probably more than any other, while also doing a good job of just standing on its own. This is also probably the best looking Absolute DC title in my opinion, and it plays with the structure of the medium in a way that can't be replicated anywhere else, like movies or TV shows or what have you. Now, I can't describe really much of this book without spoiling it, and it's just one of those books that I highly recommend checking out yourself. And if you watch my videos, you know that I try not to hype things up to the moon, because very few things do live up to the hype. But this is one of those exceptions. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Absolute DC Universe titles so far. Again, really good overall. I will say, the one drawback for this entire line as a universe for me is the whole powered by Darkseid energy thing. Like, I don't get why there has to be a narrative reason for this universe to exist. There wasn't for Earth 1, there wasn't for the original Marvel Ultimate Universe, so I don't see the point in the whole, the reason this universe exists is because Darkseid inseminated the cosmos with his Omega Sauce in search of the metaphysical penis.
We don't care.
Let me tell you
We don't care.
Jerry.
I mean, like I said, some of the books are making that idea work, like Absolute Martian Manhunter, but again, You don't need that connection for the book to work. Hi, yeah, so I recorded this video about a week before the Absolute Evil one-shot was released, and as of right now, I've just read it, and yeah, just forget everything I just said. The Dark Come Universe idea actually kind of works and is really cool. I just had to make that quick addendum. But, like I said, all in all, really good stuff so far, and I can't wait to see where everything goes. But what about you? What do you think of the Absolute DC Universe so far? Let me know down below in the comments section. Also, hit the like button, share, support the channel, and if you want to see more content like this, all you have to do is subscribe. I'm the Mystical Green Beanie. Thank you for watching, and as always, until next time, take care, guys, and happy reading. Peace. We'll be right back.